Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry it's been a bit. College is hard. I'm in college now. This is a project I did for one of my classes that was supposed to be an essay, but the topic I chose I was super passionate about, and I was like, I'm gonna make it into a video essay. So I did, and here we are. Over the years, there's been an exponential rise in children's entertainment being used to advertise rather than to simply entertain. A large part of designing characters and worlds in kids' media comes down to marketing rather than what kids would have the most fun engaging with. But has childhood always been commercial? Why does it matter? And what even is childhood? Howdy, my name is Mo, and I am a student at Ringling College of Art and Design in Florida, and I will be doing my best to answer all of these questions. I'm fortunate to have interviewed two professionals in the field.
My name is Brandon Oldenburg. I'm a film and animation director, former alum of Ringling, graduated in 1995, majored in illustration. Over the past few years, I've been fortunate enough to be able to work in various fields, even in children's illustration.
My name is Sylvia Whitman, and I teach both creative writing and professional writing at Ringling College of Art and Design, and I'm also a writer. My books have been published in Kids Lit, so picture book, middle grade, YA.
But first, a little context. While researching for another class, History of Illustration, I came across a bunch of children's book artists that I wish I had engaged with as a kid. Instead, I was on YouTube and Musical.ly, later TikTok, consuming media which I can barely remember and did very little to help my young brain develop. I constantly wonder about what creative influences I missed out on as a kid, and how I was lucky to be exposed to the ones my parents provided me with. I think about how many creative minds we may be losing to the endless lull of cheap entertainment that was never intended to inspire or made with any kind of care. I want children of future generations to have a greater access to the types of influences that I adored as a child, and that honestly really helped me grow. I'm tired of seeing parents take the easy way out and corporate America taking over the market of children's content to essentially make kids gateways to their parents' wallets. The kids of today deserve better. Oxford Languages defines childhood as the state of being a child, or the period during which a person is a child. Our idea of this modern-day childhood is a relatively new one. Prior to the mid-20th century, kids had to hold jobs and provide for their families. Our idea of childhood in 21st century America is generally a very privileged one. All our basic needs are met with free time to play and plenty of entertainment. A big part of this childhood is the media we consume.
Even if there's an illustration, there's still a lot for the imagination to run with when a book is read. And when it's shared with a young pupil that maybe can't read yet, and it's done on a regular basis, it instills a love of reading for the rest of their life. And it's something that I put into practice with Zoe, our first child. She still reads to this day. She's always reading. She loves reading. She has a very vivid imagination because of that shared experience. Riley, on the other hand, since I had two children, I kind of slacked on the amount of reading we did with Riley. And I see a difference. They got enamored with the glowy object, and the book became boring at that point. And it changed your attention spans. It altered the brain, especially at a young age, in a different way for how media is consumed.
Even more recently than the inception of the modern childhood, however, is the shift in childhood to commercialization. We can observe this shift in many places, like children's entertainment, kids' literature, and yes, advertising. According to Oldenburg, since the creation of modern childhood, it has been inherently commercial. However, there has been a significant shift in children's media to become more corporately incentivized. A form of children's media that has taken a big hit in recent years has been picture books and children's literature in general. While researching, I found a Children's Lit Foundation that had a great quote on their website. The purpose of children's literature is to aid them in this developmental journey and to equip them with the empathy, understanding, and critical thinking skills required for a happy, successful life in the wider world. Without these tools, how are children expected to succeed? Childhood is becoming commercialized.
Leveraging social media is just the reality on how people consume and know about and hear about things. You can't expect people to just walk into a bookstore and see the book cover and buy it. More so in the picture book area, because that's a crowded market, and a lot of those books are turned sideways, and you got to sell the book on the spine, and that's hard to do. The commercialization of childhood, I think, is in a positive way, is reminding people that there is such a thing as childhood, and they should remember the dreams and aspirations they had when they were 10 and not let go of those.
I think childhood is just a wonderful space, and it has lifelong influences on people's lives, for good or ill. I am not a fan of corporate intervention in that space. I think that sometimes that preempts imagination because it imposes somebody else's imagination on kids' play. It's okay to be bored, because when you're bored, you have to come up with a solution for amusing yourself. And I think commercialization is often trying to fill those gaps and make money off of it instead of letting kids discover their own resources. I don't think the current moves in the state of Florida and across the country to restrict access to kids lit in general, I think that's a terrible thing. It is so important for kids to be able to see themselves and see others through picture books that I think we should make them more available and more inclusive. And unfortunately, that does not just seem to be the trend at the moment.
These are issues that must be seriously addressed, as they could have huge consequences for the future. We have already seen the impact the introduction of the internet has had on kids from the 2000s, but many of us still had vital years without its intrusion. But now, it seems like there's no turning back. Capitalism. In the corporate world, monetary gain trumps everything else. Cutting corners and pandering to nostalgia is commonplace for these companies like Disney, and it's unlikely they'll stop anytime soon. However, I wish kids had more access to independent artists who do care and who are out there. Generally, children's media is seen as a lower form of art, or one that takes less effort or skill to produce. A culture of kids will watch anything has grown off of this idea. It's incredibly damaging, as less care is put into what these kids are watching, and it's only becoming more normalized. Therefore, the cheap, lackluster media is allowed to thrive, as it's easy to produce and it's relatively cheap. An article I found online about how we market products towards children states it well. This high level of perceptual salience, coupled with preschoolers' tendency to focus on only one or two predominant stimuli, may explain why animated spokes characters associated with a product is likely to draw a preschooler's attention better than most other stimuli. Meaning, by exploiting a child's interest in bright, fun characters, these companies are able to better ingrain their brand image into a kid's mind. Put yourself in the shoes of a brand new advertising agent. You see the numbers. You feel the pull to use this knowledge as a tool. This new market could build you so much capital. Not only can you use this technology to sell to adults, you can sell to children. You can sell to children. Just create enticing worlds. Invent a new fictional friend for them to latch onto. What kid in their right mind could resist? Everything you could want as a kid right there on that big shiny blue screen. They just have to convince their mom to spend a measly $20 on their new toy. Surely that's nothing. Then the kid will have their new toy and be happy. A week later, however, the toy becomes boring. It's created to be only what it is. There is no imagination, no way to spin the tale and create new characters out of the toy. The toy is only what it was molded to be. It can't be anything else. So the kid sits right back down in front of the shiny blue screen in their boredom. And would you look at that? A new fun toy just appeared, even better than the last one. And it'll only cost mom $20 to buy. We have to consider these things when we're marketing towards children. The way we portray the world around our products, how we entice children to just keep pestering their parents until they have no choice but to yield. It's unethical, to say the least. They create what a child wants: a new friend, an awesome place with everything they could ever want, and they'll never deliver on that promise. The goal is to sell. Children are really nothing more to corporate America than a gateway to their parents' wallets, and these companies will do everything in their power to pander to a kid's desires. We trap these kids in an unending cycle of exaggerated promises and diminishing returns. But this is what they want. In this cycle, the amount of joy a child gets from a toy is intended to diminish quickly. They're meant to get bored fast, so they'll just keep having their parents buy them new toys and keep spending money. By commercializing the media that our children absorb, we're opening up their childhood to this cycle. Digital advertising to children is only becoming more prevalent. We need to take action and stop this trend from continuing. Instead of learning to play and use their imagination to problem solve and work with what they have, they've been provided the idea that play means to just simply keep buying new, shiny, and better toys.
They don't have the power of the purse, right. But they have the power of the whining and the power of the begging and the power of the just, I'm lovable, give me things.
When the more elaborate a toy gets, the less imagination or room for imagination there is for the child. Everybody knows a cardboard box is better than a transformer. Everybody knows a wooden block is better than a finished idea in the form of a plastic mold, because the wooden block can be many things and it lives longer and you'll get more out of it. Same for Legos, sure, you can make what's pictures on the box, but you can make anything, and that's a good toy. But there are other toys that are really horrible, that there's a button you push and it transforms and it's cool, but when you do that once, you've done it a million times, you don't need to do it again, and then it's always going to be the robot with the laser blasters. It's never going to be anything else.
These pre-made, manufactured ideas of what play is supposed to look like will forever pale in comparison to the joy felt when a child's imagination is set free to explore. By allowing these trends to continue, we're teaching kids that impatience is just a fact of life. Children are rapidly losing the ability to focus and problem solve. Why would they need to? All of the answers have been at their fingertips their entire lives. Boredom has become a cardinal sin, and we bombard our minds with constant stimuli. In this cycle, we lose the ability to simply sit with what we have, as it's always easily replaceable. The rise of the internet has allowed this idea of anyone can make kids content for a quick buck to permeate. There's been a recent trend of utilizing AI to create quick, effortless, and monetizable content. It's slop content, as many of you know, and it is completely saturated kid spaces on YouTube. This only makes it harder for kids to sift through the muck and find something worth watching. Alongside this lack of care being put into the content itself, there's been an uptick in overworked parents being unable to parent their kids properly. With a lack of time and energy, the easiest and most convenient way to deal with their kids' needs is to place them in front of a screen. iPad kids and teens addicted to their phones are simply a consequence of that. I can only imagine the mental health crisis we'll be facing in the near future as these kids grow up, fully reliant on this technology. It is so important to remember, these kids are not the issue. We need to do better for them.
Parents have a lot to deal with, but as much as possible, keeping children, one, away from long exposure to ad-driven material can be helpful. Doing things with them, reading them books, giving them time to play is really important.
Something happened a while back, this is a long time ago, but it was good, which was there was a celebrity endorsement of a book, but they didn't have anything to do with the book. And it helped the book sales. In the middle of their set, they did a bedtime reading. Oh. They pulled the book out and they read it to the audience. And it was Madonna. She read the picture book as a part of her set, and that helped book sales and exposure for that author and that picture book.
We can potentially use these trends like celebrity endorsement and social media to help us push classic and innovative content for kids, rather than bury it.
But, the more support, I sound like a total socialist here, the more support that the state can give parents, the better. And whether that's making sure that people have sick leave and parental leave and good child care. Take care of the parents, and then that also helps take care of the kids.
Right, yeah.
By supporting the parents, we should also be able to combat this issue more efficiently. Hopefully, changes like these can allow kids to have better access to resources that are helpful in their development. Not just the classics, but new and passionate work from artists who do still care and who want to entertain, because they are still out there. We need to embrace change, but we can't allow it to completely wipe away necessary parts of us.
Yeah, definitely lots of ways to be okay. And the thing is, there are lots of really good advocates for kids. One very small example is there's an organization, nonprofit called First Book, and they simply give picture books to kids, because the idea is if you're in a house that is not bookish, or there aren't a lot of resources, like to own your own book feels really, really good.
The world will go on, whether we make changes or not. I only hope we can do better for these kids and their future. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.